Good morning. Sam and I are back to encourage you to get out and do some walking today. But I also want to talk to you today about the psychological aspects of a diet or a way of eating like this. I like to call it a way of eating for a reason, because it's not a diet in the sense that most of us think of a diet as something you do for a little while to make a change and something you see as a negative. A diet should be the way you eat, not just something you do for a little while. The hard part of starting a diet, I think, has a lot to do with all of the social pressures to participate in the same things that everybody else is doing. And many of us are doing the things that we're eating, the foods that we've been convinced are safe because the FDA approved them enough to be on the shelf, because commercials are constantly blasting how this will solve your hunger, this will make you feel better, this will help you have more energy. You know, all the things that we put in our bodies that are truly horrible, but are broadcast to us as being something that are good for us, give us the notion that this is just the way you should eat, right? You know, it's okay to eat fast food as long as you get the good thing on the menu, and it's okay to eat cereal as long as it's this kind of cereal or that kind of cereal, when ultimately I'm coming to learn most of this stuff is just horrible for you. And many of the things that we've been told all of our lives are the healthy way to eat are actually very unhealthy. So it makes it hard to get started on any kind of journey like that, because it's not just you against your cravings, but it's you against the social pressures, the constant bombardment of advertising, and companies that spend a lot of money to make sure that you're going to want to come back and eat their foods by using chemical enhancements and psychological tricks and commercials and whatnot. You know, there's not much that's going to be able to be done about that. But what there is something that can be done about is what you decide to believe. And this comes down to what you believe about your body. Now, I was heavy all my life. If you can see some of these older pictures that I'll put up here, I've always struggled with my weight, and I never wanted to be that person. I always wanted to be in better shape, but I really didn't do a whole lot to change it. There were a few times in my life where I did, where in my senior year in high school, I started to get into bodybuilding a little bit. I mean, I'm a Ferrigno, and I thought, well, if I've got that blood in me, maybe that's something I could do. As I would look at Lou and think, yeah, that would be kind of cool to have a massive muscular body like that, even though some people think that looks ridiculous. And ultimately, I've come to feel like I don't need to go that far at this point in my life. But back then it did, and what I did to get to that point was change the way I eat and start exercising. It didn't ultimately have a fast change, though. Hold on. Hey, how you doing, Penny? So amazing how nice the people are around here. Just getting blown away by the kindness of the local folks here in the area down in Marion County. But anyway, where was I? I was talking about how I had gotten in shape in my senior year and how that had affected me very positively. But ultimately, eventually it came back and I was right back down, right back up to the weight that I was at before. And then I lost weight again on Atkins diet, and that was a big boost for me. But over a longer period, it took several more years, but I gained that weight back because I went back into the same way of eating that I did before. And it really makes it hard each new time if you lose the weight to go back into putting it back on. It's like, geez, I worked so hard to get to that point just to get right back to where I was. That can be very disconcerting. And when I started this diet, I wasn't even really thinking about weight loss. I was just thinking, I got to do something about these gut issues, or I'm going to want to put a bullet in my head, because they were just making me crazy. The doctors made me feel like I was crazy. My family was thinking I was crazy. And that was ultimately what pushed me to get started on this. But I also knew at the beginning that it was definitely going to be positive because of my experience on Atkins diet, of doing a low carb diet like this was going to make a big difference in my body. So I decided to start, taking pictures and videos of what I was doing. And of course that had a little bit to do with the fact that I have a YouTube channel, and I had one back then that involved gaming. That helped me to know that I can document this and maybe put a video together that'll be helpful to people. And it might get a lot of views, and it did. But yesterday, I mentioned something to my wife after she had said something to me about how I look so different, and she's like kind of amazed that this is what she gets now after 10 years of being married to me, being a heavy guy all these years, as you can see from these pictures that I have here. She's amazed. I'm amazed. But occasionally, I still feel like I'm that heavy person that I was before. So I still feel like my body looks the way that it did before. And it doesn't really get me down. It's just every once in a while, I'll realize you're still thinking like you did when you were a heavy person. And you're not that person anymore. And I'll let that go. Well, she told me that this is a very common thing that people who lose a lot of weight go through. And I hadn't heard of that. And I looked it up today, and it can range in how strong it is, but it's a thing called body dysmorphia, where no matter how much weight you lose, you feel like you're still that person that you loathed being before. And I hate to say it in such a way, but when you have confidence issues and you're overweight, you're going to have a real hard time adjusting to this new you. And if you let it stop you, it's going to derail you. And I don't want to let that happen. So I'm going to talk about how I've avoided having those derailments. Even when I've made mistakes, I've been able to get right back on the horse and get going. And it's important because it's so easy. It's so easy to, when you're weighing yourself every day, to get discouraged when you don't see progress, because every day you're trying to make progress. And sometimes that lack of progress can last for weeks, even months. And you can get really down on yourself. But that's where it's good to be able to look at those pictures you took earlier that show in full measure where you were, and then take pictures of yourself as you go along, so that each new time you can look at those older pictures and compare them to the newer pictures and see that you have made tremendous gains in the progress you wanted to achieve, so that it doesn't get you down and then you get into this negative cycle of thinking that causes you to go right back to where you were. I don't want to see you get on this way of eating and then wind up derailing yourself because of something you're likely going to go through. You're going to go through periods of plateaus. You're going to go through periods where you're gaining a little bit of weight, maybe because you're exercising more and you're putting on some muscle. Don't let that scale stop you. I stopped weighing myself a good bit back, and now I only do it every once in a blue moon. As a matter of fact, I did it the first time for a month at least just the other day, and I'm still 199 pounds. And I'm totally fine with that because I haven't been under 200 pounds since I was in high school. So I love it, and I can feel the difference, and that helps a lot. But sometimes when you feel like you're not breaking through, it can really weigh you down psychologically and cause you to do damage to yourself. And I want to encourage you, as long as you keep making good decisions every day, that you resist those temptations to gorge on the things that you know you shouldn't be eating. You might make a little mistake here and there, but don't let one mistake be a reason to eat a whole box of donuts or eat a whole box of cookies, or whatever it is that you know your brain is craving for some dumb reason, even though you know it's bad for you, even though you know it's going to ultimately hurt you. you still do it, try to stop before you get too far in, and don't let the negative aspects of you failing that time cause you to stop pushing forward, because that's where you really lose, and then it's over. Remember, this diet thing is not something you're just doing to get to the point you want. This needs to be a new way of life, a new way of thinking about eating. And the more you study what is in our foods that we eat and how bad these things are for you, the more you watch channels like this and get some encouragement and also get some information about the type of foods that we used to eat, it's gonna really help. And we have such a network these days that we didn't have before to boost that I'm glad to be a part of it. And I hope that I've encouraged you to get out and change this way of eating so that you can change your way of thinking of yourself and the way you look and the way you feel and the way your family feels about you. Because if you've been struggling with being heavy all your life, those negative feelings have been with you a long time, and they're hard to get rid of. I just found that the documentation process is what helped me the most with being able to not have those overwhelming negative feelings. So even if you're not going to broadcast your information, do it for your own psychological well-being and your ability to press on when you feel like you're having a down day or a down week or a down month and that you're not making any progress. Remember, you are making progress. It was changing to a all meat diet like this, lion diet, that has done the miracles. But as I keep pressing on, as I keep sticking with it, I keep seeing more progress. And I'm trying to focus on the progress that I've made instead of only focusing on the areas that I haven't fixed that I want to fix, like the loose skin around my belly and some of the fat that's still around my love handle area that I can't seem to get rid of because I want to see my abs. I've never seen them before, so I can see them a little bit now, but I mean, I want to be able to have that washboard stomach, but maybe I'll never get that, and that's okay. I'd love to be able to do it, but you got to be okay with the fact that you've made the progress you've made and that it has had a tremendous effect on your health. You know, in my case, I went from taking a lot of medicines to not taking any medicines anymore. And I did one thing I probably shouldn't have done, is I got rid of all my, quote, fat clothes, because one of the things that I found out about this body dysmorphia thing is that it can really help if you go get in that old pair of pants you used to wear that now you're just swimming in, or put on a shirt that you used to wear that might have been tight even back then, and now it's like having a sheet wrapped around you. It can be really helpful to help you press on when you feel like you've made a mistake, or you've done something, eaten something you shouldn't have eaten, or you've had a day out that you just let go. You got to remember that you have made progress and that you can keep making progress, and that the only one that can stop you is you. And every day you have the opportunity to be in control of what you think and what you do. It's been liberating for me, and I want it to liberate you as well. So I encourage you, if you're starting this way of eating, take those early pictures, take some early videos, document your own progress. It'll be tremendously helpful for your psychological well-being as you're seeing these wonderful changes in your life. And I don't want to see anybody get derailed when there's no excuse in you thinking that you've done something horrible by cheating on your diet. You just gotta keep it from continuing. And even if you have a short period where you do gorge out on all that horrible stuff, get back on, get right back to where you were, and remember that there's a reason you started doing this, and that reason has to do with health more than anything. You know, when you've been heavy all your life, it's hard to want to feel good about the way you look, because you're just not used to it. But you can. And you can do it without being an arrogant ass. You can do what I do in a lot of ways. Is I see people who I know could benefit from a way of eating like this. It's so hard to broach the subject, but it's always going to have to be about health and not appearance. If you're going to share with these people anything about what you're dealing with, because health right now is more important than ever when we've got new viruses to worry about and illnesses that are attacking people with comorbidities and whatnot. This is your opportunity to not only get the body you want to look at, but to have the healthy body that you want to live in, as it's the only body you're going to have as long as you're alive. So take care of it. Put good foods in it. Take yourself out and exercise. And don't let yourself get derailed by stuff that really doesn't matter. Well, that's all I got to say for today. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?